What's up, guys? I just got this BlitzRCworks F-22 Raptor 50 millimeter. I ordered this a while ago and I waited for it for a long time. I went online when I wanted to get this for a long time when I bought it, and I went online to get a lot of information about it, and it wasn't that much. Not really a whole bunch of what I was looking for, and so I thought I'd make this little video so that people can see what's in it, what's going on, what you should do, how to set it up, things like that. I'm just going to do a quick build and then a maiden. Just a few things. Basically, this is the kit right here. This is the fuse. You get these two main wings. Stabilizers and your elevator and your cockpit. This is an ARF kit, so it comes with the EDF. It comes with a battery. I believe it's a 3-cell. It's a 850 milliamp. I forget which ESC this is, but it's the one that comes with the kit. Just the shitbanger ones that they put in all the foam kits. 20 amp. A few things before I build this that I wanted to go over with you is, when you get this kit, these slots right here where you glue all your wings in and whatnot, okay, these aren't going to fit right away. They're going to be really tight. I did a few things already to this kit. These are going to be covered in paint. When you use your epoxy or your glue or your hot glue or whatever it is you're going to use, I'm going to use 5-minute epoxy. When you do, if there's all paint on there, it's not going to hold. The glue is just going to peel the paint off, and the paint's going to come off, and it's going to fly pot in the air. And so what you need to do is you need to remove the paint, like I did here. You can see right here. This is how it comes right here. This is the fin that goes in, and you can see it's all painted. If you just stick that in there and glue that, that's not gonna hold. That's gay. So what you need to do is take all the paint off. Basically, I just used a little piece of sandpaper. I use a couple things, and I just sand all that paint right off of there, right off of all these pieces. You take the paint off, and so when those slide in, you see I took the paint off of inside there, all inside, and you got to get it all, the best you can. You can't get every piece, but as much white foam as you can. And when that goes in, that's going to be a much grippier fit, and that glue will hold forever. A really good trick that I'm sure some of you already know about that I use is, like, for example, right here. See, I haven't sanded this yet, as you can see. This piece right here, when you put this into the wing, into the fuse, you can see, there's going to be a certain line. It only goes in so far. So to get that nice straight line, if you're using sandpaper, you're going to be able to see that white foam underneath sticking out a little bit. Because a really good trick that I use is I get some of this packing tape. I love this stuff. I use it for everything. And I'll just take a piece. Let's get that off of there. And I'll just put it on here like this. Not only this is going to give you a perfectly straight line so that you don't see it afterwards underneath. Okay, and just kind of put that down like so. If you're into this, then you already got this kind of tape. Just taking whatever you got, X-Acto or whatever, and just kind of give it a good little press down. Let it grab onto that tape pretty good. The best it can, anyway. Just press down hard enough to get it to grip, not to compress the foam or anything. And when you go to lift this off, you're going to see that a lot of that paint came off with it. I'd say about 50% of that paint just came off with that. Sometimes you get more if they make these really cheap, and so when they lay the paint on, some parts get thicker paint than others. And the parts with the thicker paint will come off easier, however you say that, than the parts with the thin paint. It just seems to be harder when it's thin. It comes off as a thick chunk when it's thick. I just do that a couple times, and there you go. I don't even need to sandpaper that anymore. That's enough white foam there to bond beautifully, and you got a really nice white and a really nice straight line right there. When you stick this in your fuse, oops, you stick this in your fuse, bam, you don't see any of that. It's a nice line. Alright, so you got to get all the paint off of all these surfaces before you put them on. For example, this piece here doesn't have a lot to go into, it just kind of sits in there. So what I did is I sanded that a little, and I actually sanded this beveled angle right here, because when that beveled angle gets in there, it's going to be boom right there. So you really need every piece of glue holding that on really good. Another thing that you should know about this particular model specifically is people have a hard time with these canopies all the time because they keep flying off and falling off. And why is that? Is because when they put these together, this kind of goes in like this and it clicks down, and when they put these together, there's a magnet here and there's a magnet here, and what they do is they just stick that magnet in the foam and they glue it, and then they paint over it. So a lot of times the paint is causing it not to connect. Even if you scrape the paint off, which many people have figured out, and that's what they do now, it still doesn't work that good because the foam is very tight in here, and it's always pushing against the magnetic pull, constantly trying to break those magnets apart. And the flat surfaces of the magnets are not touching flat and smooth together for maximum, magnetism. Okay, so basically what I did is I took this magnet out, cleaned it, scraped all the paint off and cleaned it. And what I did is, instead of putting it in there and then just plopping this on it, I took this magnet and I connected it to this magnet with this off. I put it on there. And what I did is I went like this and I put it until I set up until it fell into the hole. And when I pulled this off, it was perfect on there, lined up to the hole. And so what I did is I filled the hole with glue, put the magnet there, and then put this down so that when I lift it, I know that this is perfectly flat with this magnet. It has the full maximum capacity. And when you get this plane, you can never hear a click. It's just tight foam. But now I got it to the point where if you listen, I get a nice, really nice, solid, strong magnet. I was going to put rare earth magnets in there, and I realized it just wasn't necessary. Because if you listen, that's plenty snap. It's just because the magnets aren't connected properly, lined up properly when you get these planes. So it's a good thing to do if you don't want your canopy falling off while you're flying. One thing, this plane comes with, like I said, the EDF and the ESC. It's already connected, although a couple of my red and my yellow was disconnected from my motor. I had to look deep inside to even see that. What I did is I took this EDF unit out, took the fan out, and I'll tell you why in a minute. These things are never put together right, and they're always kind of half-assed and half-glued and half-wired and half-soldered and half everything else. And so whether you got an RTF, a bind and fly, ARF, you should still, to the best that you can, even though this fuse is glued together now, to the best that you can, go in there and look at what you're working with and see if everything's connected right, and your wires and everything, and servo connections and solderings and whatnot. So I noticed when this was in, here like so, I turned this motor and I could tell there was a little bit of scraping going on inside the housing here from the prop, and I kind of expected that. So which I'm glad I decided to take this out, because this was mounted in here like this, and when I tried to take it out, it literally popped off, and I realized when I look at it that it was being held on by wet paint. Not really any glue to speak of whatsoever, just in these two white spots where you see the paint came off. I don't know if you can really see that or not, but yeah, it was just wet paint holding this entire unit inside to the foam. So that's going to get all scraped and cleaned and glued in properly. These are your servo wires going down through, and they come out through your canopy. So if you notice, another issue, when this is on, this screws on, but when this is all the way on, it had a little bit of scraping. I don't know if you can see that, but there's quite a bit of scraping right there. I don't know if they tried to smooth that out or how much they ran this. I don't know how much pressure this motor was under while it was scraping the side there. And also you can see that these have all kinds of little frays of plastic where they tried to sand it down. It's not very... So I'm going to go over all that and really smooth that out, sand that down really clean, and get that in there so there's no scraping, no The motor seems to, I haven't actually ran it up yet, but the motor seems pretty good. Pretty smooth. Another thing that I wanted to say was also, that's right, also these control horns are not put on these surfaces when you get this kit. You have to put them on, and it's the same that applies here to these lips that get glued in. You need to take all that paint off that area before you put these non-porous plastic horns on here, because it really needs maximum you know, strength to hold on to that, especially if you're really going to be flying hard and whatnot. You really need that. Another thing is, later when you put your rod through here and you adjust your rod, what you do is you tighten down on this little screw right here. I recommend, you know, not enough to make it permanent, but I recommend a little bit of whatchamacallit there to hold that in there and really keep that thread lock, to really keep that from coming undone and having your control rod just pop out on you, which will happen. Other than that, there's not much. This is the thing for the bottom. It just kind of slides in and out, your little compartment for maintenance, which you're going to need to maintenance this right away. What you get too, you get your nose cone, which is really nice. It's nice and clean and smooth. It's going to look really sharp when it's put together. Just some random horns and arms and whatnot. That's about what you get with the ARF. Here's your rods, 4 of them, 2 servos. It's basically, it's a 3-channel plane. You got your throttle, your elevator, and your ailerons, which is connected with your elevator. They work at the same time. I'm probably not going to use this stock battery. I have other 3-cell batteries that I'm going to use. But I am curious to put it on a charger and see, you know, what it has in it, and what it you know, what size is it really, opposed to what they say it is, because it's never the same. So you have these 4 surfaces. You got these 2 here as well. Oh, and be careful, because you know, I wasn't really thinking, but luckily it just worked in my favor. But these are different. These, not all these 4 of these control horns are the same. Some will go this way and 2 go that way. And so you're going to make sure that this is the inside of the plane. This is the closest to the inside of the plane. You need to make sure that that's going to be on the inside. If this were to be on the outside, the angle and everything would not be as really good as it could be, or as it should be. So basically what I have to add to this plane is my own receiver. I have to add a transmitter, a charger, a balancing charger, and that's pretty much it. You get the ESC, and you get the battery, and you get the EDF. I'm going to put some of this stuff, I'm going to put a strip right here that's going to go right down the belly of the plane to about here. Because, you know, landing after landing after landing after landing after landing, you start to get all... So a little piece of tape will hold it, although, you know, just remember that if you put this on here, that will peel the paint off when you finally do take it off for whatever reason you need to. Also, I'm not going to be using, if you notice, these are the typical Banana Hobby connections. These little banana plugs. And these plug-ins for your battery. I'm going to be taking those off and putting Deans on. Much easier, quicker, and more efficient. I'll probably keep these plugs on the motor here to go to the ESC. There's no need to change those out. They won't be being unplugged and plugged in randomly. Another thing too is these stabilizers. If you look by sight, these could go on either side and look okay, but they do only go on one way. If it's not obvious to you which way they go, and it doesn't line up really clean, like one of mine didn't at first, I had to sand it to get it really perfect, but if it's not obvious, then I guess a quick reminder note that you can follow is that if you notice, there's a much thicker, grayer area here. It's much wider than over here. That part is going to face towards the back, like so. Okay. Just like that. Another thing is your control surfaces on this plane. The wings are really nice. The foam is really nice. Everything's really clean and smooth. The only thing that I don't like is, if you see, I don't know if you can see this angle looking down that or not, but the only thing that's hinging this is the same foam piece itself. They just notched it, so there's still a little in the middle that it's hinging on. And that foam is going to snap eventually. So I think basically what I'm going to do is, not from the top part, but from the bottom part, is take the paint off real clean on maybe 3 spots and put some hinge tape, 3 thin slices of hinge tape on there. And that should help a lot with longevity, and especially if you got control surface, if you got it set up where they're really, which I will, you can see that one's very thin. It just seems to me as though that could rip right now or break, but it doesn't. People run them stock like that, and they seem to be fine. Yeah, so you do have to add your own receiver in your transmitter. The transmitter I'm going to be using is this one, which is my DX6i, which I use for a lot of my other planes. I'm going to have a spot in there for that, and I'm going to be binding it to because this is a cheap jet, I didn't want to put $1,000 million into it, so I bought a Orange RX. I believe a 6-channel. Yeah, it must have been the 6-channel Orange RX from Hobby King. It's like $6 or $12 or whatever it is. So I'll bind that to this, and I'll be able to get mixing, and I'll be able to high rates and low rates and tame it down for the maiden and get used to it, and then turn it up and tear it up. I heard these things can take 4-cell batteries, but I probably wouldn't go about it with this ESC. It's a 20 amp, and it's a Banana Hobby special, so I doubt that would be the ESC you'd want to use to go with 4-cell. I'm sure the motor could handle it. I'm sure everything else would be fine, but you need to replace that. Alright guys, I'm just waiting for a few things coming from Hobby King right now. On the next video, I will probably be putting all this together. I'll do one more build video, putting it all together, showing you how to glue it, showing you the center of gravity, how everything should be put in, and then hopefully we'll get a maiden. Hopefully. That's about it. Alright, I'll see you in the next video.